Hey Angela. Alright, so here's your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where we are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, the death and lesson learned. And we'll get hints of time throughout. So all I'm going to do is relay to you the impressions and images that come through. And your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what we go over here and your current life. And I'll try to help whoever I can. Okay, there's something happening right here. Gotta move that around. Gotta be careful when there's an open flame, right? Okay, so, pardon. Ah! All right, there you go. You got your own saged reading. There you go. All right, we'll consider that lucky. Why not? Okay, so where you are here for the majority of your time, or where you spent most of your life, this is the Nomad card. And that means that there's not a home base, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have a home base to go to, or if your home base, if there is a home base, so to speak, like with people that you stick around with, you guys move around a lot. In this sense, I feel like it's a little bit of both, where I feel like there are people that we'll see you with, but it feels like it's not like a huge community that you move around with, like a tribe kind of thing. It's not like that. It feels more like a band of small band of people that you move around with, and something about you not wanting roots or not having a home base in one place. So, for example, you could be making connections with this in certain ways. Like, one, do you prefer small group of people versus being in a large crowd? Do you prefer to travel? Are you a traveler? Do you like to get out and about and see what's nearby? And even if it's a day trip or a weekend or for a while, are you a traveler? This person feels like a traveler at heart. So there are a couple connections you can make. So there's direct connections and opposite connections. A direct connection would be something like, yeah, you're still a traveler. You're still someone that wants to see the world, get out, move around, meet, see what's out there. On the other hand, there's the opposite connection you could be making throughout this, where your soul already experienced something in one way, so it's come back to experience like the opposite way or something very different. So that would mean that you came back into this life to seek roots, to stay put, to commit to the land, to be in one community, that kind of thing. So if you find that you are someone that is seeking a community or seeking to feel at home, it would stem from this. This is someone who never really had that home base feeling, but also didn't need it or really desire it. So your soul, if it's desiring that in this life, it would be because it's time to experience that. And the yearning for a home would be the lack of home here. On the other hand, if you're not experiencing needing a home base or wanting that home feeling, that would make perfect sense as a direct connection, you see? So that's how we can, that's how we use that as far as connections go. I do want to say that the person they're showing me is a male. It feels like we're looking at a male who is, he doesn't feel what we would consider, I guess, ethnic. It feels more like, but I wouldn't go ahead and be like, yeah, this is like a total white dude. I feel like we're looking at a guy who can pull off. He has an ambiguous way about him, where I think what it feels like is, okay, he's born into something that we would consider a bit more privileged. Not like super wealth, but like the family feels like it's a respectable family, but it also feels like the family comes from a different place. So let's say we're looking at someone in Great Britain, okay? Just for example. But it's like his parents or grandparents came from maybe like India or something like that, that kind of thing. So we're looking at I feel like, again, like it does feel British really, but it feels like we're looking at British raised and reared and, speaks perfect English kind of thing, even though his roots come from somewhere else. And to the point where it's like, I feel like it's just a generation skip, like his grandparents came from India kind of thing. So keep that in mind, actually, because it does feel like I said example, but it actually does feel like that. So if you have any connections to Great Britain, whether it's wanting to go there, visit, whether it's seeing photos and feeling triggered or emotional about it, or wanting, like, oh wow, what a beautiful photo, where is that? Oh, it's England, okay, like that kind of thing, where you've always been pulled there. Also India, though. It's going to be that, it's India, I don't know where, but in India, but if you've ever been pulled towards Indian culture, food, language, history, just the overall aesthetic of these places, those would be connections as well. It can even be the kind of thing where you are fond of those like Indian tapestries that might have an elephant on it or something like that, or the Indian gods. If you've ever been pulled towards, the with the many arms, or there's or the elephant head god, or there's all these kinds of gods in India. If you've ever been pulled towards that kind of, it doesn't have to be the religion, but just again the aesthetic or the just like the overall feel of it. Also Britain too, which would imply, tradition and the culture there, the history. I mean, a lot of history. Just the way about it. When you think of a place and it has like an essence to it, that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. But we are about to go to what you do with the majority of your time. This card is the water card, and it feels very much like we are looking at someone who does his traveling over the sea mostly, even though it is to get to different land places. It's not like he's out to sea all the time, like permanently, but he does utilize the waterways a lot. And I feel like that's where it feels like a band of brothers, or there's a group with him, even though I don't think it's just purely male there, because there's something here when I laid this out about this life where there's something that feels not feminine, but a respect for feminine energy. So we're looking at someone here that feels like they are a little bit ahead of their time spiritually, where there's a respect for women and women's intuition. Especially, I feel like, because we're looking at someone who is very in touch with nature, in the way of like, this man, it feels like he's the captain of a boat, honestly. It feels like he used his privilege in a way, like where he comes from, his family, the good reputation, and they do have money. It's not like this, they're not like royal or anything, but it's like well off or well to do, and it feels like he is educated and sophisticated. However, there's something about a rebel's heart in there. And so I feel like he utilizes and takes advantage of that, which, he should, in order to do what he wants, which is to get a ship out to sea. So I don't know if he's using it as a way, like, almost like a feeling of telling his dad, okay, I will go around and talk to your merchants for you. Like, let's say his dad is connected in that way. Like, I'll go and I'll be the messenger for your business or your company, but give me a ship and give me some people and I'll go do this for you. But in doing so, it's almost like, yeah, he does the work, but he does a lot more fun and like as well. Like, it's almost like the work he's doing for someone, he makes it so he can utilize all of his time to make sure he's doing his own thing. And I feel like that's coming through really strongly for a message for you today, to make sure that you are paying attention to your needs and what you want to do, for even if it's purely for fun. Make sure you are meeting the fun button, so to speak, in your soul, because that's going to make life a lot better in many ways. And it's going to make it so you don't resent other people. Let's say you have a job and you're getting fed up with certain people. Make sure that you find time, even while doing that job. Make sure you're in your mind, at least in your mind, having fun with an idea, playing with an idea, building on, maybe you're work on a project and you can come back to it while you're doing some menial task in the day. You can at least think of something fun to work on, so to speak, so you don't always have to be doing something you don't want to be doing, if that's the case, if that speaks to you. And it's okay if not. Now, another connection you can have is a connection with water, because again, this guy feels connected to nature in the way of respecting the water. And there's this respect, like I was talking about, respect for feminine energy. There's a feminine energy. It's almost like he can't separate the two when it comes to the boat and the water. because he sees them as feminine energy, female power. And so again, there's this lovely respect that he has for Mother Nature, which he views as feminine. It's kind of interesting, and I feel like this person does have an old soul. And so you might find therapeutic, like water to be a therapeutic escape. And if not, I would, if you haven't tried it, basically, take time to go find water and be there and breathe and relax and see what watching waves or watching ripples does for you if you're having a bad day or you need to wind down, decompress. Yeah, it could be a pool if you don't live near natural water, but maybe again, if you're a traveler, go find some time or a way to drive out or go somewhere where there is a lake or a river or ocean, that kind of thing. So that also might be something you need too in order to open you up, and that could be meditation in itself. So let's say you don't find enough time in the day to meditate. There's something about even like, I would even say buy a mechanism for your house, like an indoor fountain, like those little ones, anything where it can bring that sound of the soothing water, because there's something very meditative about it that you might connect with in a big way. Just a little message there. Then let's see, there's another so you might be making a connection too when it comes to favors, when it comes to doing things for other people. There may be something in your life where you feel like you're not being given back, like where you're doing and you're not being given back. And what I want to say about that, if you connect with that, is stop expecting other people to give back. You can certainly express yourself of your needs and wants, saying, I feel like I do this for you and I don't feel like I get anything back, but nothing may come from that, right? So it's really important that you understand that you have to give back to yourself. And that can be in a couple of forms. It can either be, one, by learning to say no to things, or two, by learning to treat yourself to things that you don't normally treat yourself to. Basically, learning to be more generous with yourself. So if you're going to continue being a giver and continue doing favors or doing, helping other people in whatever way, even being a mother, you're just constantly giving if you're a mother. You want to make sure that you fill up your love bucket. You fill up your bucket full of like what makes you happy, and giving time to yourself, taking a class you want to take, again, saying no. Just make sure you know how to say no. Keep making connections where you can, and we're going to go to the first important day here. So this is the Wowzer card, and I really love the Wowzer card because it usually means a little form of enlightenment is happening in some way. So we're going to see what's going on here. This is the Friends card, so we're looking at friends involved, and the feeling is happy feeling. So the Wowzer card, friends involved, and a happy feeling. And I want to say that altogether, this day that we're seeing is actually a day of revelation for this person. And I want to say we're seeing a day in particular when there is a hardship that happens. And I want to say that it's like almost like maybe the father died. So it feels like someone passed away. There's some emotional hardship happening where you or he, same thing, is involved. So I don't know if it's his father that passed or if it's someone on the ship, or there's something where something happened to someone that someone loves very much. And we're seeing a day when let's say it's a bunch of boys, a bunch of guys on a ship. We're seeing them put the little boy, playful, silly card away, and everybody on this day kind of levels up and mans up and extends an emotional hand to the person going through a hardship. So this is a big deal because it feels like up until this day, we're looking at a group of people who are dear friends and can rely on each other and trust each other in the work that they do and to help each other, yes. But it's almost like this day is the first it feels like there's tragedy involved or something tragic on an emotional level. And instead of giving, just like punching him in the arm and being like, you're good, bro, you got, instead of that kind of thing, or just drinking or whatever, it feels like everyone comes together and like, it's almost like as a group, these people are growing up or becoming enlightened together by being serious together, like coming together in a moment where the person going through the tragedy needs true, solemn, serious love from his like brothers and his friends, and they come together and they do that, and that's a really wonderful thing. And it's like, again, it feels like this man we're looking at is the head of the ship, the captain of the ship, and he sees this happening, and there's this emotion that, like, I could feel emotion when I do these readings, and what's coming through is like this, it's like a bunch of butterflies wanting to like come out of your chest and throat, because it's like that fluttering, like amazing realization that this is why we're here as human beings. We're here for each other. That's the moment we're getting here, is understanding the all, understanding the one, we're all connected. We all share the same emotions. We don't always show it the same way or help each other in the same way, but this day everyone came together in a way they never did before, and you could feel the heart. It's like, it feels like his heart got bigger, like just like this big goopy heart, and he sees these people as his family. He sees them, he's like, these are true brothers, like these are true people, this is my tribe. And I feel like this is coming through as a message for you to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who can help you grow, who maybe even challenge you to grow in some ways, but in good ways. People who encourage your pursuits, encourage your passions, people who know when to, basically, it feels like you may be very empathic, and it feels like it would be good and right if you can find other people like you to be around you, so that they can read you and they can play off of your emotions in a good way. Like they balance you, your tribe, finding your tribe. And it's like a message to make sure you find those people that make you feel this way, that will grow with you or encourage your growth. If it's if you're growing this way and they're going that way, realizing that everyone's on their own path and they still want you to be happy and as whole and complete as you can be, and to keep learning. So remember, we do learn great, amazing lessons from those that we even consider our enemies. Realizing that really they're not our enemies on a soul level. They're there to teach us that lesson, and thank you, right? It's hard to get to that place, but you can. In this case, it's a message to find the right people who make you feel good, who will teach you the right lessons, but in a way where you don't feel like you have to suffer. So make sure you're at least surrounding yourself with people like that. And again, it feels like it's a small group of people. You don't have to go make 100 friends. Those real, your tribe, they're going to come in smaller groups. And it's going to feel, you'll feel it. And I would definitely say this has to do with filling your love bucket, what we were talking about earlier, in ways like, for example, if you feel urged or pulled to take a certain class in something, whether it's a computer class or a Reiki class or yoga or a book club, you know what I mean? Like where you go to a place where people are going to gather for a like-minded event. I would say definitely pay attention when you're feeling pulled towards something, or when something comes across your radar synchronistically, to do it. Make the decision to just go. And you might, like before I was saying, you might have to tell someone no. You might have to say, sorry, I have something I'm doing. You're going to have to take care of that yourself, kind of thing. But make sure you go, and it's at these places where you're going to meet the right people. One at a time, maybe in a group, doesn't matter, but make sure you're following the things that pull you, the things that excite you. If you follow that as much as you can, it's going to lead you to the right people and put you on the right path. So keep that in mind. This can also indicate that you are feeling yourself going through or needing to go through a period of growth, of understanding, of enlightenment. Sometimes it doesn't feel awesome, but it does. But you do feel the growth. And that's a good thing as well. So this could be coming up if you are going through it or about to go through it, just to remind you to go, like, whether it's hard or not, it's a good thing. Try to see things with a silver lining. Try to see it as growth, as a lesson, and that will take any sting off of something that might feel hard. I'm not saying it's going to be hard, but if it is, that kind of thing. So just focus on your growth. Focus on releasing things, letting go of things that don't serve you anymore. Look around and see what does serve you. You know, if you're going through a little transition period, go with it, go with the flow. Don't question it. Don't stop it. A lot of people stop themselves from growing because they're so set maybe in a family dynamic that to grow would mean to change, and that would throw the whole family dynamic off, and so they stop it. And that's not supposed to happen. I mean, because you stop it, it is supposed to happen if you do stop it. I get it. Everything happens, you know, as it's meant to. But if you're given the opportunity of this growth spurt, it's really for you to take advantage of and not to stop. So keep that in mind as well. So the next important day here is the Death card. And the feeling involved is karmic. And then we have sorrow and just a bit of sadness involved. And so what it feels like is it's connected to this day. And I feel like what it is you get word. Now that this is here, it comes more complete. It starts trickling through. It feels like this is about you getting word that someone is about to die. And then here we're coming to, it almost feels like you set sail to get home kind of thing, but it's almost like it feels like it's too late or you don't make it, at least in time. And it feels like the person that you got word of that was sick, it feels very much like a parent figure, possibly your father, dies. And it feels like, so here you're getting the camaraderie of your friends in a wonderful way, and you set sail, and it feels like almost like maybe even 2 weeks, about 2 weeks later kind of thing. And and I say that also, I want to pull in the time frame right now, that it feels like we're not in the, hold on. Yeah. It doesn't feel like we're really in the 20th century at all. It feels possibly like we're looking at 19th century. If it is 20th century, it's early 20th century. It feels like boats are very in, so to speak. Or, you know, so we're looking before, it feels like before cars. We're looking at like horse and carriage kind of stuff time-wise. So also if you connect to that timeline as far as enjoying that, where you see photos or you learn a history in school of the 19th century, like the old days before, it feels like before electricity kind of thing, or right at the verge of electricity, or where there's still horse and carriage and buggies and top hats kind of thing. That's what we're looking at. So if you've ever been pulled to that kind of aesthetic or period of time, that would be a connection as well. But anyway, we're looking here. Now this karmic card is really interesting because you create your own karma in this life with your father. It feels like you created karma with your dad by not being there on his death, as a way of almost saying, I'm sorry I wasn't there. So on a soul level, you're making a pact with his soul on this day when you realize, you know, he died, you didn't make it. It's like you made a pact that said something like, next time I'll be there for you. And that created a karma. It didn't have to happen, but you created it based out of an extreme emotional reaction. And it doesn't have to be both ways. Like, he doesn't have to be alive to create the karma. You could create the karma. And it's almost like on a soul level, he could agree to that karma based on feeling that's what you need for your soul to grow, is to pay this karma off. So how you can be connecting with that is, if there's someone in your life that comes to mind when we're talking about this kind of thing, where there's karma involved in the sense that you feel like you owe them something, you feel like you have to be there for them, someone in your life you feel you have to care for, or that you find that you are taking care of. It could be a parent figure who, you know, you take care of them later in life. It could be a sibling that you find you're always financially taken care of. It could be a best friend that you just always feel like you have to be there for them because you always have before, even though things might get where it's like, this is too much, I don't want to keep being here for you, but you feel like you're kind of stuck in that mode of being there for someone. It can even be your child, where your father's soul here came back and incarnated as your child in this life if you have children, because a parent, more often than not, will feel obligated to take care of their child, right? So that'd be the perfect relationship to come back in, is where you're the parent this time around, and there's no way you're going to leave your kid, that kind of thing. So basically working off kind of like abandonment issues, that where you feel like you abandoned him even though he didn't feel that way. So this is also a message to kind of make sure that you realize that what you feel about people, how you feel others think about you or feel about you, isn't necessarily true, really. It's the kind of thing where you might be much harsher on yourself than other people, where you think, like he did, oh, he's mad at me for not being there. He feels like I abandoned him. That's not true. And he will never know the truth because the father died. But in a way, the father kind of abandoned him in death, right? But that's not the case. He feels like he abandoned his father by not being there at the time of death. Almost like shirking responsibility or tradition too in that way. And so just keep that in mind as far as placing the blame on yourself and feeling guilty for things that you shouldn't place blame on yourself for or feel guilty about. Make sure you let go of guilt you're holding on to. Even if someone tells you they feel a certain way about you, you have to realize that that's their business, that's them projecting, it's their issue that they have to get through. You're not obligated to other people to fulfill their needs of you. You're not. Even if you're married to someone, if they're like, you have to be a certain way and you don't want to be that way anymore, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't again, stopping growth. You don't have to stop your growth. This is a relatively rare theme I get here about someone stopping their growth. Just make sure that you don't stand in your own way by creating obstacles for yourself in the form of guilt or fear or not wanting to change dynamics in a relationship, scared of what it might bring about if you do change. That's normal to fear that kind of thing, but don't let it stop you, okay? And just so you know, this karma in this life, it's wrapped up and it's gone as soon as you make the choice to let it go. So if we're talking about this and someone comes to mind, it's probably that person that this soul is. And all you got to do is make a conscious choice and process it and release to let go of this karma. It doesn't mean you're letting go of someone you love. It just means you're letting go of the cord kind of holding you guys together in a way where there's an obligation. When you let go, cut the cord, release that kind of thing, you can have that love still with the person if it's someone you love, without feeling guilty, obligated, responsible, that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. And it really does feel like it would, with this card, it would make you feel, this person would probably make you feel like you are holding yourself back a bit in order to appease them in some way. So keep that in mind. Now let's go to the death card. This is really, I love that this card came out because you are living on the water, and then this is the water death card. And what it feels like is that you didn't make it home in time because it feels like you died at sea. It feels like it was out of your control. Your ship is like, it feels like a storm kind of thing, and you didn't make it because I feel like there was a rush involved, and because of the rush to get home, there was like the mindset, whoa, we'll just get through this storm. We'll just pummel through it, and you weren't able to. So the death happened, and you weren't able to get back to your father, or the death, you weren't able to see this death. So it's almost like you guys kind of died at the same time is what it feels like in a nutshell. Not the same moment, but like roughly around the same time, it feels like you died. And it feels like in that death, it was almost like, again, setting the karma. But now I'm going to take it up a level, because now that we talked about this, it feels like the karma also has to do with the death of anyone else who died on the ship with you, and it could have been the entire ship. So you might find that what we talked about here, as far as feeling obligated to people, doing things for people, there actually might be more than one person when it comes to mind. And if that's the case, if you find that there are multiple people that you feel obligated to take care of, obligated to do favors for, obligated to, it can even be as simple as wasting time by listening to them complain when you could be doing something else. You know, it could be a colleague, that kind of thing. So if you're actually coming up with multiple people that you feel that you are over and over again doing favors for, or feeling obligated to just do something for, you know, that kind of thing, like we just talked about here. It could be your crewmates also, that you set karma with, not just the father that died, but the crewmates as well, because you were responsible for them. So that's really interesting. So keep making connections where you can. And here's the lesson. It's compromise. And I feel like this lesson is really about your current life. And I feel like this is speaking more about making sure you do not compromise yourself, compromise your purpose, your path, your growth, your enlightenment. Don't compromise time that you could be spending on developing your gifts, or enjoy nature, or just time alone, meditation, whatever it is. Make sure you're not compromising yourself for others anymore. It's time, and if you do, it's time to really start to wean yourself out of that, because this compromise lesson is already learned. Like, it's already done with. You don't have to do it anymore. Just because there's a lesson in life you have to learn doesn't mean it has to be lifelong at all. Actually, it shouldn't. The quicker you learn it, the better. So why not get rid of that lesson now? Why not finish this compromising lesson? The lesson in compromise. You get it. You've done it. You help people. You do things for people. Great. Put it aside. Time for the next journey, the next step, the next path, which is all about you, and it's time. It's just time for that. That's what this feels like is coming up. It's time to stop compromising yourself. And if anything, don't feel guilty for even asking other people to compromise a little bit of their time and their efforts in order to help you in some way that you might need. Maybe you need, and this is just a random example, but maybe this time, you know, you need someone to babysit your kid. Like, you need your partner to babysit your kid so you can go out. That kind of thing. Or maybe, maybe you need someone to help you with something so that you can have time for something else. Like, basically, don't compromise I'm saying don't compromise yourself, but it may feel selfish, but it's not selfish if you're not doing it with selfish intent. As long as your intent is to grow as a person, as a soul, and not to hurt anyone and just to be happy, that's not selfish. So make sure you realize that, and make sure you stop compromising yourself. Okay? So there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to make some connections, and thanks for letting me read you.